There are two types of men in this world. The ones that make excuses and the ones that get out there and get it done. When you lack authority over yourself, and until discipline becomes an addiction of yours, you're going to just be replaceable and selectable, just like the rest of them. So how do you become addicted to discipline? Well, here's exactly how. The first habit you need to develop is to have non-negotiable start times. Currently, you're probably just living like someone that just gets told when to do what, and you don't have the initiative to just do it yourself. And that is the first weakness people are going to notice. They're going to see that, because those types of men just drift, whilst disciplined men initiate and just get to the point. There are two main archetypes here. The one that's reactive, the man that waits, for a good mood, for permission, for the things to be just right. And then there's the operator, the one that just starts. If they said they're going to the gym at 1 o'clock, it's 1, they go. If they said they're going to do something at work or at home, and the time comes, they just get to it. No negotiating, no thinking otherwise, just doing it. And the biggest problem with that is that emotion is unstable. Sometimes you're happy, sometimes you're sad, sometimes you're excited, sometimes you're not. Structure always remains. The only thing you have to do is follow it. So if you rely on emotion, that's going to be nice, because you're going to have options. Because options feel like freedom, don't they? Whereas structure feels rigid. But the problem is, they're not real options. They're just kind of excuses, just kind of floating about, dressed as options. So the less you rely on emotion and more on structure, the easier time you're going to have. When we also think about this, historically, power always belonged to the ones that control the times, the time schedule, the individuals who told the armies when to move, empires taxing the common folk. All those things were structured. They had to be, otherwise chaos would erupt. And when you fail to impose time discipline, eventually someone's going to do it for you. Whether it's just an employer, your partner, or a different man. The second habit is boredom tolerance. If you can accept boredom, you will win at life. Because when you're overstimulated, you're probably a little bit impatient as well. The weak-minded person will always chase dopamine. This type of man needs, novelty, noise, or some sort of guaranteed reward for them to do something. The strong-minded person will be able to endure this repetition, whether reward comes or not. If they have to get it done, they just go and get it done. It's kind of like going to the gym. You go over and over and over and over again. Even when you don't see progress for weeks, you still keep going, because the progress is there, you just can't see it. The weak-minded person will just quit, but a strong-minded one will continue, because they know that repetition is key. This mechanism is, very, very effective. It's just boring, because discipline usually lives where dopamine is at its absolute lowest. Because if you was excited to do it all the time, well, then you wouldn't have a problem with it, would you? If you was excited to study, if you was excited to work, if you was excited to do that extra thing, it'd be fine. But a lot of times they're boring. And if you can get through these boring, monotonous things, you can get through anything. But the issue we have is that modern systems just flood you with dopamine. They're just constantly supplying it to you. Mobile phone feeds, the constant notifications, porn, all these different things. They're kind of like pacifiers, just aimed to keep you manageable and glued to the screen, so you're never bored. Because once you are, you feel uncomfortable. So you look for that safety net. Men who could tolerate boredom outlasted the men that didn't. Siege warfare, long marches, invasions, people wanting to become a master blacksmith. Those things needed time. And chances are, a lot of the things they did, or didn't do for that matter, were fucking boring. But they put up with it. And the ones that lasted long were the winners. They're the ones that took the grand prize. They're the ones that stood on top, because they could withstand boredom. In reality, your resistance to boring work is a survival weakness. Something that, once again, makes you replaceable. Because if you can't stay doing the same task once the novelty wears off, well, you're never going to be able to accumulate enough knowledge and power to use it as leverage. Whether that's to land a better deal, whether that's to improve on yourself, whether that's to get better prospects. You will never be able to accumulate enough. To train boredom, you just have to do these things with no novelty whatsoever. No reward, no music, nothing fancy, just doing it over and over again when you told yourself that you would. That's it. It's just rinse and repeat over and over again until boredom doesn't really feel boring anymore. It just feels like the norm. It's going to feel like absolute shit at first, but the longer you do it, the better it is. And when you do have these boring moments, they don't seem as bad. In fact, sometimes they're actually quite enjoyable. When you can sometimes just appreciate the silence, drive somewhere with no music on, go somewhere just completely on your own. It becomes nice sometimes. Habit 3 is enduring physical hardship on purpose. Basically, going to the gym, going running, playing a sport, whatever you want to do. But if you never made your body suffer on command, on purpose, your body has no respect for you. There are plenty of these, comforted thinkers out there. The ones with endless analysis and minimal strain. And in turn, there are very few people who are conditioned. The ones that go through stress regularly and deliberately. Because voluntary hardships teach your nervous systems that discomfort does not equal danger. Because without doing this, every single time you've got some sort of challenge in front of you, it just feels threatening, doesn't it? And that is why undisciplined men procrastinate and overreact. All these different roles from the past, explorers, hunters, laborers, soldiers. Unfortunately, modern life removes the necessity for this because everything is just so easy and accessible. And that is why it's so important to incorporate it in your routine on a regular basis, so you can do these things, which are hard, on purpose, because not only will it help you physically in the long run, it's going to massively help you mentally. You're going to be a lot less prone to overreacting. You're going to be able to withstand a lot more struggle. And of course, you're not going to get out of breath by walking up the steps. I think that when you do this for an extended period of time, it actually reverses and you start to feel uncomfortable when you don't train for long enough. Sometimes if I go for 2 to 3 days, I am itching to get back to the gym. Sometimes obviously I can't and I have to skip X amount of days because of responsibilities or work or the things that I'm working on, and I just have to catch up in the following days. But I tend to find that when I have a longer break than I want to, or I'm not really following my routine exactly, I get uncomfortable. I want to go and train. I want to put my body through this, because without it, I feel myself slipping in other aspects of life as well. And discipline sticks when it's written into your nervous system, your muscles, your posture. It doesn't leave. For the 4th habit, use your environment as enforcement. If you keep just relying on willpower when you're not actually controlling your environment, that's pretty amateur behavior, because you can set yourself up for success. It doesn't take much effort, but it will save you so much negotiating with yourself. You're going to fight yourself later. Because why would you bargain with temptation all the time if you can just become an architect of your own surroundings? Because naturally, humans are going to follow the path of least resistance. And if distractions are close and all around you, discipline becomes pretty fucking hard. So the easier we make it, the less excuses we have. If you struggle to go to the gym, set yourself up. Bring your gym clothes with you. Lay them out the night before. If you struggle to get back into badminton, don't put your racket away somewhere. Have it out on show, so it's literally there. You can see it all the time. The idea is to set your environment up so it's easy for you to recognize what it is that you have to do. And whenever you fail to engineer your own environment, you're just going to fall victim to someone else's, because someone's going to do it for you, and you basically become where you place yourself. Because when your environment enforces discipline and pushes you to do the things you need to do, discipline stops becoming this heroic thing you put on a pedestal. It just becomes the thing that you do. That's it. And lastly, identity replacement. The version of you that avoids discipline at any cost needs to be eliminated. Not changed, not improved, just fully gone. And you might think that's a bit of a drastic measure, but sometimes that's the only thing that's going to work. Because that identity survives on excuses and comfort. I'm not saying you have to sleep on the floor, have the window open so you're freezing all the time, never use aircon, things like that. No, that's not what I'm talking about. You can treat yourself to the nice things that we have in modern society, but don't forget about voluntarily putting yourself through a little bit of hardship so you can appreciate them that little bit more, whilst also working on your own mental fortitude. Replacing your identity is a little bit cold at first. It's tough. It's not something you can just do. It'll take a little while, but when you're able to do this, you're going to stop thinking, oh, should I or should I not? Is today the right day? Or maybe tomorrow? You're just going to go and get it done. As with everything, there is a cost to this. You become less relatable. You outgrow certain people. You kind of lose the comfort of explaining yourself. You just kind of just do. Some people might question that, but let them. What does it matter anyway? But that's kind of like the price that you pay when discipline becomes your identity. So get out there and get it done.